Hello and welcome to the Candy Cane Show. Today we're gonna get an Elite Eight preview to you. So we've got today, um, we've got Villanova. We got Villanova versus Houston and Duke versus Arkansas. And tomorrow we've got Miami versus Kansas and St. Peter's versus UNC. We saw some really exciting games yesterday and Thursday. Some surprises as we saw two number one seeds get knocked out, and we saw Purdue go down to St. Peter's as St. Peter's was the first 15 seed in NCAA history to advance to the final. To the Elite Eight. So why don't we start it off? Well, before we do that, I only got one pick right
Yeah,
yesterday, and you got how you
I
got
got two.
two. Yeah, so we were
But we agree on
really
everything, I
far
believe,
off.
except Kansas and Providence.
Yeah, and Providence missed
They
so
came
many wide
close.
open threes. They easily could have won that game. Very unfortunate
No,
for them.
almost every game over this weekend was close. So
Yeah. No, yeah, it was a good slate of games. UNC Caleb Love really showed out, had 30 points.
I'm trying to
Got
think. I
them
think
that
that the
win.
Miami Iowa State was the only
Yeah,
game that
Miami,
didn't
Iowa State
come down to
was
the
that
wire.
was really the only game that didn't come down to at least the last couple minutes.
Mm.
Like, so, well, I mean, to be fair, Houston, Arizona, but Arizona was still a one seed, still hanging around. But Houston, with about a minute, 2 minutes left, just
Yeah,
started to
that game
pull away.
never felt over
Yeah,
because just because Arizona is a one seed,
yeah, and
you keep
Michigan,
expecting them to come back in
yeah,
that
Michigan had a chance.
game.
Michigan had the ball with like 50 seconds down by like 5, but then just didn't happen. Gonzaga just wasn't their day.
Right, none of the games
Texas
I don't
Tech,
believe
yeah,
besides St. Peter's, none of the games really came down to the last few seconds, but they're all close. Like one team was leading by a couple of scores, you know, and one team was trying to
yeah,
come back, and then it was close, but then ultimately one team did pull away. So
yeah, yeah,
no overtime, no buzzer beaters, but still an
yeah.
entertaining slate of games
We
regardless.
almost got a buzzer beater with the Ivy shot, but
Yeah, no, he was
wasn't
pretty
meant to
close. That
be.
was a deep three.
Yeah, it bounced off the rim backboard, then it looked like maybe it would have a shot, but it fell to the side of the rim. So
Yeah, to be honest, I feel like St. Peter's might have been better off fouling there because if he fouled with 2 seconds left.
I mean, yeah, but also if you foul and he goes into the shooting motion,
Yeah, then
they,
you give him three
that's
shots.
three. That's three
So,
points
right,
right
so you have to
there.
be
You'd
careful with
rather
that.
you'd
He's
rather
going to
just let him
shoot with
settle
like
for
one
a.
second
Also,
left.
they only had like 2 seconds left to. Well, they had 4 seconds left to
Yeah,
advance the ball the
4.1
full way
seconds,
down the
and
court,
then right.
and then they tried to pull a very very long three, and it
I
was
mean,
from
it's
the low
suitable for
post.
Ivy, but ultimately it did fall just short.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Mm.
I'd live with that if they tied the game there on that. I'd rather not foul and give them 3 shots. That's the only thing. I mean, you can foul when you're up by more than 2, but you do have to be really careful because if the shooter goes into their motion and you foul them,
Right. Yeah,
that's
no, certainly because
not
then
good.
you definitely do not want to get in three free shots.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So first game today, we've got Houston versus
Mhm.
Villanova. That's at 6 Eastern time. Who do you have winning this game?
I feel like Villanova should win this game. I'm going to go with Houston because it just kind of like Houston. We criticized them a couple of days ago for their lack of a difficult schedule. They
Competition, yeah,
showed
but
right.
then
They
they went
showed
on to
now that
Arizona.
they can really hang with the top teams, and they beat Arizona pretty comfortably. I feel like Villanova is a better team, but Houston's looking hot right now. They've won all their games pretty easily. UAB was a strong 12 seed. Illinois, I mean, not such a great team, but still pretty good. Obviously, Kofi
Yeah.
Coburn is always tough to beat, and then
Well,
Arizona,
they play good
number two
defense on
overall
them, yeah.
seed. Houston is playing the best basketball right now. They made the Final Four a year ago. I feel like they'll make it again this year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've grown on them a little bit more because I remember we were both harsh, but I was really, really harsh on their schedule. I didn't think they really had what it took to make a run this deep because you see, even last year they didn't beat a single seeded team, single digit seeded team. Excuse me. But they just went out and beat Arizona, top team in the country. And I mean,
Right.
that's a really impressive win. However, I'm still going to go with Villanova. I feel like Villanova has just been playing really, really solidly. I mean, they've had yesterday's game, sorry, 2 days ago's game was kind of close, but it was most of the way there. It was in their favor. Same with the Ohio State game. They've had control of these games, and I feel like they're gonna stay like that. I feel like they've just got so many people that have been there, like Colin Gillespie, all those guys. Villanova is always a team with good experience, and don't get me wrong, Houston's got a lot of veterans too. But this Villanova team really, really, really hits their shots. They play good defense. They do what you need to do to win, and I don't like them at all whatsoever. But they are without a doubt a really solid, good team, and I think they're gonna beat Houston today.
I do understand that they are probably the better team. Um, I just
Yeah,
I feel like with the confidence that Houston is riding right now,
yeah,
and look at Villanova, they've not been like so dominant throughout the tournament. They
yeah.
besides 15 seed Delaware, then they played Ohio State. They won that by 10, which is fine. I mean, Ohio State isn't a great 7 seed. They probably should have won by a little bit more, but you're not
I,
too worried
I I
about
think
it.
Ohio State was actually a solid 7 seed. People give them hate before the tournament, but they've got some really good players. EJ Little and Malachi Branham, if they both declare, will be first round picks. And I, Ohio State really they had a horrible Big Ten tournament, but I don't think they were a weak team at all. I think they were actually a solid, pretty strong 7 seed. I don't think they were like I don't think that's just I don't know. I don't think
Not this is not a
a
to hate
walk
on
in the
Ohio
park.
State, but I feel like
Yeah.
Villanova probably should have won that game by a bit more than 10 points. If I recall correctly, it was like fairly close too.
Yeah,
It's not
it got close in the second quarter.
right. It's not
Ohio
like
State pulled within like a couple points, but then Villanova
right.
hit their shots,
That's what I'm
and
saying. 'Cause
I
it's not
mean,
like
they
Villanova
Iowa
was up by 20 the
I
whole
was
game,
wow.
you
Ohio
know?
State was never really out of it, but they were never really winning. They weren't really in the driver's seat at all. Villanova always had kind
Mhm.
of the positioning they needed, and they pulled off the win.
That's fair. And then you look at what's it called? Michigan, right? Michigan's pretty strong 11 seed as we've seen last week or so.
Yeah,
Villanova did win that game. It was pretty close as well. They haven't had any super dominant wins. And even look at the regular season, they don't have too many wins against top competition. I mean, they beat Providence, they beat UConn, they beat Tennessee once. That was at the beginning of the season though. And they lost to Purdue, they lost to UCLA, they lost to Baylor. Um, it just I've yet to see them really like they haven't had too many impressive wins this season. I feel like with the way that Houston's playing right now, I just don't see them losing right now to Villanova.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. They play really good defense. They've been playing really well. They've got a lot of really solid players. Yeah, I just had to go a different way. So okay,
Next we got Arkansas
Arkansas,
and Duke.
Arkansas, dude. Who do you have in this game?
Um, I hate to say it, I got Duke
Yeah,
because
fair.
Arkansas.
That's fair.
I mean, it's a team with a lot of speed right now. Obviously, they just knocked off top seed Gonzaga, top team in the entire country. But Duke, they played down the stretch in their last two games against Texas Tech, and also Michigan State. They were fantastic. I know they didn't miss a single shot in the last like 5 minutes or whatever it was against Texas Tech. And they did something similar. I think they made all their free throws in the last like 7 minutes against Michigan State. I don't remember what it was, but we've seen
Yeah.
how they can really clutch up when it matters. They're not gonna, especially with this being Coach K's last season. There is definitely an extra sense of urgency there. Paolo Banchero has been great in late in games, and Arkansas. No disrespect to Arkansas, but I just think Duke, even though they're a bit of a weaker 2 seed, I think they're going to pull this one out.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you there. I mean, Duke had a really good game against Texas Tech. Texas Tech is an older team who plays really good defense too, locked down defensively, and they were down, but they showed that toughness that they have that Coach K has talked about the last couple of weeks, and they pulled that win out. Um, The Michigan State game was close, like you said, but they hit their free throws. They won the game. Um, and I think that's going to be similar in here. Arkansas is a really good team, a lot better than I thought. I thought UConn would win first round and second round against Arkansas, but Arkansas has gone all the way here. They beat the Gonzaga team that was the number one seed, and I think that they're a really good team. They've got great players like JD Note, Jalen Williams, but this Duke team's not going to lose now. I think they're going to the Final Four.
Yeah.
I'd expect the score to be something like 72-68. I think it'll be a close game.
It'll be definitely close. I mean, because Arkansas, they did not look great in the first two rounds. Actually, Gonzaga was their biggest win, despite playing against 13 seed and 12 seed up until that point.
To be
But
fair,
they're
New
doing
Mexico
right
State
now.
was the New Mexico State game. They had control of that the whole way, and New Mexico State.
Yeah, no. This is Arkansas. Obviously, they played well enough to get those two wins because ask any team, those wins against double-digit seeds are never easy.
Exactly.
But they are certainly playing their best basketball right now, and I don't see a way they don't make this close against Duke. And also, I do think it's going to be another game that comes down to the last few minutes for Duke. I think, again, they're going to find a way to just play their best in the last few minutes down the stretch and pull it out.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, so our next game, moving over to Sunday now, St. Peter's and North Carolina.
You know what? I'm going to actually have to go with St. Peter's here. You know what? I'm going to ride the Peacock wave because they played amazing against Purdue. Purdue was winning first half, but they stuck within striking distance. And in the second half, sorry, man, I was about to say fourth. The second half, we saw the dry spell, the great defense they were playing. Purdue could not buy a bucket. They didn't score it in the first 6 minutes of the half. It was ridiculous. And you saw St. Peter's, they play good defense. You need to play good defense to win this tournament. You need to play defense to go far. Teams that don't play defense are going to get knocked out early, going to be done. St. Peter's plays good defense. They run great offensive plays, and they're just winning basketball games. And they're I'd say, the hottest team in the country right now. They beat Kentucky, Murray State
right now,
and Purdue. They beat way too many good teams to be cast aside as just a team that got lucky once. They're a team that plays really good basketball. And UNC is a really good team. They've had some really good wins. Baylor was a great win. They blew out Marquette. And they beat UCLA, a team who went to the Final Four last year. And they beat the national – I mean, this has been a really impressive run for them. They beat the defending national champions, and they beat a Final Four team. But, I mean, I just think St. Peter's wins this game. I can't go against them right now.
I think I have to agree with you here because there's no reason why they should have made it this far. They're not even a particularly strong 15 seed. They went 19-11. Obviously, just got in on strength of their conference title game.
Yeah.
But they are playing ridiculously good basketball right now. I don't know where it's coming from. And it's not fluky either. They beat a 2 seed, a 7 seed, and a 3 seed, the best possible combination they could face. Now, UNC is the lowest seed team they'll be facing all tournaments. And UNC is obviously on a tear right now, even going back to that win against Duke a few weeks ago. They did lose to Virginia Tech in the ACC tournament. They were very hot at the time as well. And then really, had it not been for that Brady Manek ejection, they would have won that Baylor game more easily. I'm not going to say that, that's the reason why it was so close, but I don't think it would have come down to the end like it did if he was there. And then UCLA, I didn't think they were going to win that game, but even though they didn't necessarily play their best basketball, they were still able to pull it out. And that's the thing, because we know that this team can be really, really good when they're playing their full potential. But I said a couple of days ago, they're going to come down to earth this weekend. They didn't quite do that against UCLA. Obviously, played well enough to get the win. But given the way St. Peter's is playing right now, I don't think they can beat them unless they play their top game. And St. Peter's, we saw what they could do on the defensive end in the first 5 minutes against Purdue, like you said, and also down the stretch of that game, because I know they went on another 8-0 run later in the second half.
Yeah.
Um,
That was a lot of
and it
runs.
had not been. I remember that someone made a three, I believe, at the end of that Purdue game for Purdue, right? Had not been for that shot, it wouldn't even been that close. But
Yeah.
I mean, the knock on St. Peter's heading into this weekend was their defense. They're obviously great on the offensive end, but
I don't even think that that's even that would have been a knock on them. I mean, they don't play like the best defense you've ever seen, but like they really they
it's
play
not like a
good
liability or
defense when it
anything.
matters.
It's not their strength. It's their offense is their strength, and we
Yeah.
thought they can play more complete basketball against Purdue last night. So
Yeah. I think they've played pretty complete all tournament, but yeah, especially last night. Yeah, we saw
yeah,
them really lock
no,
in
this is
during
their
the
best
second half.
game, I'd say.
What happened?
I'd say this is their best game against Purdue.
Probably. The Kentucky game
Kentucky
was
was
still
great, but
really
they
good.
also gave up like 86 points, I think it was.
No, they didn't give up
That
86 points. It was like 79 and the game went to overtime too.
what was the score? Let me see. Oh yeah, right. 85-79.
And the game went to overtime too. So Kentucky would have only scored Kentucky. Let's see, Kentucky. Yeah, Kentucky
Yeah,
scored
85,
70 points in
79.
regulation, which
No,
isn't
you're
like
right.
a
You're right.
ridiculous amount.
But
And they
I
held
still
Murray State
feel
to
like this is their
60.
most complete performance of March, and I think they're going to keep it going and somehow make the Final Four.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. All right, last game of tomorrow's slate. Well, it's earlier than the St. Peter game, but Miami versus Kansas. What do you got here?
And it's kind of a tough game to predict. Miami's looked really, really good this tournament. And I mean, they won that game against Auburn pretty handily. They looked pretty dominant there, winning by 18 points over
Yeah.
the 2 seed. And then they were pretty strong against Iowa State last night as well. Iowa State is obviously a strong defensive team, but they were able to score 72 points on them in a 16-point victory. Kansas, on the other hand, has looked kind of shaky throughout the tournament. I mean, against Creighton, right? Creighton's a young team missing multiple starters, and that game still came down to the wire. Then Providence, who a lot of people didn't even predict to make out of the first round, myself included, took them down to the wire last night.
I really
Kansas.
I had a gut feeling that Providence was going to win that game like a week before. I wasn't right.
Yeah, I was this close to predicting Providence, but I don't know. South Dakota State. I feel like I needed an upset there. South Dakota State made sense.
Yeah.
No,
yeah. No, I called. I really thought they were going to beat Kansas.
It was a reasonable pick because Providence, they were stronger than expected, certainly.
And they hadn't even played that well, and they beat 2 seeds.
Right, because they entered the tournament with a chip on their shoulder despite being a high seed. And, I mean, they answered the critics over the last.
Yeah, no, it was a solid run for them. They almost beat Kansas.
You can't be too mad about that if you're a Providence fan.
Kansas is going to need
a lot of people expect them to go, especially with Iowa, as their likely second round matchup. Luckily for them, that didn't happen.
Yeah,
but still. So you know what? I think I'm going to predict Miami here because I'm going to ride with the hot hand. Kansas, obviously, are the better team in general, but they're not playing their best basketball right now. I feel like if it comes down to a close game, I feel like Miami might be able to pull it out. They're just looking so complete right now on both ends of the court.
Yeah. No, this is probably the hardest game of the slate to predict for me.
Yeah.
Because Kansas is such a good team, and they've got a lot of good players. And they won, and Agbaji only had 5 points. He's their best player. Remy Martin really carried the load. But you see a team like Miami, and Miami is just playing so well. They've got a lot of guys who can score, a lot of guys who can defend. They play basketball for March, and they've had some really good games. They've beat Duke before this season. They lost to them in the ACC tournament, but they beat them earlier in the year. They beat USC, who was a solid team. They beat Auburn, who was at one point the number one ranked team in the whole country, and they beat Iowa State, a team that was really hot. But I've gone against Kansas twice in a row now, and I think while they're not playing their best basketball, I thought Creighton would beat them, and I thought Providence would beat them. You know what? I'm gonna go. Kansas has not lost yet. They've played really shakily, but I think they put it together. They've got a lot of both teams. Again, both teams have a lot of veterans, a lot of guys who know the moment. They know how to play good college basketball, and I just think Kansas is not going to lose tomorrow.
I understand that. I mean, they do have a pretty experienced team, certainly.
I think I buy
Super seniors.
drops. I think after the dud he dropped, he had 5 points. I think he puts up 20 plus, and I think they play just an all around better game. I think yeah, like you said, it's going to be a close game. I think, and it's hard to go against Miami in those situations because they can really tire you out on the defensive end, and then they can score. And at some points, you can't stop them on the offensive end. But I'm not going to go against Kansas here, so I'm gonna go with them.
Yeah, I understand that. My prediction is Miami, just because they showed how they can play so well on offense and defense in the last 2 games. First, they shut down Jabari Smith completely, and also dropped 79 in the process, and then put 72 on a really tough defensive team in Iowa State. Sorry, Kansas. You're right. They have the experience here, and they've found ways to win despite being in all these close games. And I know something you mentioned a few days ago, but when you're just winning a bunch of close games like that, eventually that doesn't become like fluky as much as it is just kind of being able to play well in the clutch.
Yeah.
And it starts to become a positive trait. I could 100% see Kansas winning this game. They are, in my opinion, the better team, but I have to go with the upset here. I got Miami.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's understandable. So now both of our teams that we picked, even just in the Sweet 16 to win it all.
Yeah.
My Purdue has been knocked out. Your Gonzaga has been knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going to go with here?
To win it all from here?
I can go first if you like.
Yeah, you can go first.
Unfortunately, I don't like the team. I like Kansas, but I don't think they're going to win it all. I think they're a good team, but they're not going to win it all. I like St. Peter's. I think they get to the Final Four, but I don't think they win it. And Villanova is not winning it all. So that leaves me with Duke. And unfortunately, I think that Coach K is gonna walk out a champ, and I think he's gonna win the national championship. I just, the way the bracket has fell, with all the 1 seeds except Kansas getting knocked out, I think Coach K goes out on top. It's not what I would like, but I think for me, the thing that I'm gonna go with is Duke wants it badly. They got a bunch of guys on their team playing really good basketball. I'd say when they're at their best, they're probably, although they are young, they got a lot of young freshmen, sophomore guys. They are the most talented team left in this tournament. And Coach K, he's older now. He's still a great coach. I think he's going to walk out a champ, and I think Duke wins it all.
I had to admit, but I have to agree with you. Yeah. I mean, with all the teams that are getting eliminated, and especially with this Final Four that I'm predicting, where the other teams are 5, 10, 15 seeds, I don't really see a way for them
to. It's
been
a crazy tournament.
And I mean, this is the nightmare scenario for all the Duke haters like myself and Coach K haters. But it's all going according to plan for them. I don't think things could have gone much better for Duke. This tournament
they're set up well. If they can beat Arkansas,
they had to play near perfect against Texas Tech and Michigan State. They did that. Gonzaga's been eliminated. Kentucky's been eliminated. Arizona's been eliminated. Kansas is not playing so great right now. You have UNC or St. Peter's waiting in the Final Four if they win against Arkansas.
Could you imagine if St. Peter's went through Kentucky Murray State, Purdue, UNC, Duke, and Kansas to win a national championship. I think that would be the
Okay.
best story ever
No,
in sports.
no, without a doubt. No, that would be.
The
I don't. No one would
greatest
ever
story.
top that in any sport at all as the greatest
Never.
Cinderella
Never.
run of all time.
St. Peter's.
St.
Yeah.
Peter's, like a weak team. Like if any 15 seed was going to do it, it wouldn't have been St. Peter's because they're not. They didn't look like a particularly strong team. I mean, I'm not someone who studies these low ranked teams or anything, but I mean, by all accounts, they weren't a particularly strong team entering the tournament. But the fact that they're even here right now,
I would have thought out of the 15 seeds they might have had the better chance out of some of the other ones because well, I mean, you don't ever really look for strong 15 seeds, but
yeah,
they might have been the best. They looked hot coming in. I mean, let's see. I mean, they were kind of hot coming into the tournament, but to be fair, they're also playing a bunch of little known mid-major schools and you kind of just pass that off, but I mean, they
I mean,
lost
occasionally
to
you have a team that gets kind of pegged as a strong 15
let's
seed. Like I believe Florida Gulf Coast State in the year that they made the Sweet 16, they were
yeah,
kind of considered to be a stronger 16 or 15 seed.
yeah. Let's see. No, yeah, they got I mean, at the beginning of the year, I mean, geez, they've really pulled it together. They lost by 21 to St. John's, a team who did not even
You know, they did.
touch the NIT tournament.
They lost to St. Francis, Stony Brook.
What is
Paris.
they lost to who else? Let's see. Yeah, Stony Brook. What is Ryder? Is that the
Ryder
Ryder
apparently
Bronx?
was like Ryder apparently had
An
a
8
decent
and
shot to make the tournament, but then they
no,
got upset. They got
they were
upset in
8
the
and
MAAC
12.
tournament.
They lost to a team that was 8 and 12. That's crazy.
Manhattan. I didn't even know Manhattan was a school.
Yeah. No, yeah.
I mean,
They've
they
played a
won both
bunch
those
of
games
little
pretty
known
handily, but
colleges.
still.
But I think that it's just been a really great run for them. And I mean, Shaheen Holloway said it in his interview.
Mm.
Don't think about the name on the jersey, just play your game. And they've done that. They've played Kentucky. They beat Kentucky in the first round, and it's got to be really hard as a 15 seed to put all that aside, forget that you're the 15 seed, and just go out
Right.
in there, play your game against a team as storied and as good as Kentucky. And they did that, and they won. And I mean, then they beat Murray State, who by no means was a bad team. Murray State was 31-2 coming into that game on the season. And then they beat Purdue, another really, really strong team that I had making the Final Four. And they've got a potential top 5 draft pick in Jaden Ivey, a guy who's probably, in my opinion, at least the best guard in this draft. So they're just rolling right now, and they just got to give props to them.
So
And I love it. I at this point, my bracket's done. I'm rooting for
you
nothing
can't.
else.
There's no
St.
excuse at this
Peter's,
point
go
not
win
to
it
be
all.
rooting for
Go
St.
win it
Peter's
all.
unless you're like a fan of one of the other 7 teams
No,
left.
yeah. Unless you're a fan or you want to win your bracket pool. My bracket's
I don't
done.
think anyone really. So few people, unless you picked like Duke or UNC, or
Yeah.
maybe Kansas at this point, you don't have a shot at your bracket.
No, yeah, there's really two. Besides Villanova fans, I haven't really seen anyone picking Villanova to win it all. And
Yeah.
I haven't really been seeing
They
anyone
were a pretty
picking
unpopular pick despite being a 2
Duke.
seed.
I mean, Duke was picked a few
Duke was
times.
picked because
And
of like A, name value, and B, Coach K's
Yeah.
last season.
yeah. And I didn't think Duke. I thought Duke was a very talented team, but I thought they would run into some real trouble against Texas Tech and lose that game. And they almost did, but they pulled it out because they're a lot tougher than I thought they were. And they're really just a really solid team. That's
Right.
very talented. They're young, but they play like they've been there before, and they play really well when it matters. So that's really big in this tournament. And like we said, I think they're gonna win it all, but we'll see.
Right. So I do have one more question for you. Okay, what do you think is the best possible Final Four matchup that we could get from this point on?
Okay.
I know what I'm
Okay.
thinking.
Well, I feel like if we get St. Peter's Duke,
Mhm.
that would be really cool. But if St. Peter's loses, UNC Duke to go to the national championship would also be a very storied matchup, and Duke would have there would be a lot of storylines in that game because UNC obviously beat them earlier in the year. Duke would have a chance for revenge to go to the Final Four. Sorry, not to go to the national championship game. That would be a cool game. I mean, Villanova, Kansas.
I mean, they played in the Final Four a few years ago.
UNC Villanova actually in the national championship
That would be
game.
cool.
That would be cool because we could see obviously Chris Jenkins the final shot to win that game, and UNC very well could have won that game. They hit a shot.
That's
with like
still an all-time classic.
2 seconds to go. UNC knocks down a shot. Nobody knew. Ryan Arcidiacono gave him the flip, and the rest was history. He knocked down the shot. That was a ridiculous shot, and a rematch of that game in the national championship, although I want St. Peter's to win, and I do think they will win that game, them versus UNC run against Duke, beating Duke again for them, and then playing Villanova in the national championship would be pretty cool.
Right. So I have to go with UNC Duke because could you imagine if UNC beats Duke to end Coach K's career in the Final Four, right? That
would be horrible for him.
Right.
He would have lost. If that happens, he would have lost.
He's coming back after that.
Final home game to UNC at Cameron Indoor Stadium at his home grounds where he's coached for so many years. 2, he would have been knocked out. His last game, UNC would have beat him. He doesn't get a chance to go out on top.
If that happens, UNC fans are never, ever, ever letting Duke live that down.
Yep.
Like that. That's it. That's it for the rivalry, you know?
But I do think, talk about storylines, and I feel like we always see these storylines. I feel like, I don't know.
Because Duke and UNC, I don't believe they've ever played in the tournament, right?
Wasn't Christian Laettner shot against Duke?
No, that was Kentucky.
Yeah, that's right. No, that's my bad. Yeah.
No, Christian Laettner's on Duke. And then,
Christian Laettner's on Duke. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was on you.
No, that was against Kentucky, though. Yeah.
Wait, I feel like they've played before. Duke.
I don't think they played in the tournament ever.
Yeah, they might not have. Let me see.
They've never played.
No, they've never played. They both made it to the Final Four in 1991, but they never actually played each other.
Right.
That's crazy. No, yeah, that would be crazy. And then if UNC won, they could end Coach K's career and then maybe play Villanova for a rematch of that title game if some years ago. And then if Duke won, they could get their revenge on UNC for beating them earlier in the year. Coach K's final home game. So there's going to be some cool storylines. But I do still think the best of them all is if St. Peter's just for some reason just continues their magic and just wins it all.
If Coach K's career is ended by St. Peter's in the Final Four,
that would be the funniest thing and also the best thing I would have ever seen.
No, I think you have to be rooting for St. Peter's from here on out.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas either that or that what's it called, UNC Duke matchup.
Yeah. No, yeah, there's going to be some cool storylines. I really like it.
Yeah, UNC, I feel like UNC is certainly the most conducive to the cool storylines here between Duke and possibly Villanova. In the game.
Do we have anything else?
That's about it.
Yeah. All right. So with that, I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time on the Candy Cane Show.